Today a reader, tomorrow a leader. SSET Englishtown.
Hi guys, it is Jane. I am here with my Tuesday, Thursday 1C at 3:30 in room 501, and today we will be working on reading. So today we will be starting a new book. So you'll need your copy of Helen Keller, and you'll need your reading workbook out, okay? Alright, so first things first, let's turn to page 60 and talk about the vocabulary. Alright, so as you can see, we have a pretty big list of vocabulary words here. So today, I want you guys to study from page 4 to page 8. So draw a line at the bottom of enough. Okay, 4 to 8. Those are the words I want you to focus on today, alright? Alright. So,
very small.
yes, very easy, right? Alright, so turn to page 62. Now, on page 62, we're going to look at the cover of this book and answer some questions before we get started with our reading, okay? So, what is the title of our book? Who can tell me? Right. Helen Keller and the Big Storm. Notice how I only capitalize important words, not all the words. All right, so who wrote this book? Patricia Latkin. Yeah, Patricia Latkin, right? Sorry, Patricia. Good. Who drew the pictures for this book? Diana Magnuson. Good. Good. So, if you look at the cover, what do we see? How do you know that's Helen Keller?
I see.
Ooh. No cheating. What would you say her name is Helen Keller, or would you say a girl? A girl. And where is she?
Tree.
A girl stuck in a fruit tree, right? Good. And what do you think this book will be about?
Helen Keller.
Oh, good guess. I think this book will be about Helen Keller. All right. So, because today is our first day with Helen Keller, I will read the story to you guys first, all right? And then next time, you guys will start by reading the book, okay? So, open your book to page 4. Little Helen Keller loved smelling roses and honeysuckle. They grew all around her Alabama home. But most of all, Helen loved playing pranks. When she was 6, she had done her best prank yet. Mama had walked into the kitchen pantry. Quickly, Helen felt for the key. Click! Helen locked Mama inside. Helen didn't always have the chance to take charge like that. Mama and Papa tried hard to understand her, but many times no one knew what she wanted. Helen could get so angry that she would kick and hit and fall into a heap. Afterward, she ran outside. She threw herself onto the cool, comforting grass. The flowers, trees, grass, warm sun, and gentle wind always made Helen feel better. Helen was never punished for her pranks and tantrums. Mr. and Mrs. Keller thought Helen had been punished enough. Their daughter could not hear or see or talk. But that pantry prank forever changed Helen's life. The Kellers now knew that Helen needed more than they could give her. She needed special lessons from a special teacher. Helen's teacher was Annie Sullivan. She came to live with the Kellers. Helen was not ready to trust this stranger, and she was not ready to give up her pranks. She locked Annie inside of her room, and this time Helen hid the key. That prank made Annie see just how clever Helen was. No matter what Helen did, Annie did not give up. Slowly, day by day, she worked with Helen. Annie taught Helen by pressing her fingers into Helen's hand. Annie's fingers spelled out the names for the things that Helen loved: grass, flowers, leaves, trees, bugs, butterflies, sun, wind, rain. In a short time, Helen loved doing her lessons more than doing her pranks. Soon the outdoors became Helen's classroom. One summer day, Helen and Annie took a long walk on their way home. The air grew hot and sticky. Helen and Annie stopped to rest under a wild cherry tree. The tree blocked them from burning hot sun. Its leaves fanned them with a gentle cooling breeze. Helen felt its strong, low branches. They were just right for climbing. Annie and Helen decided to do just that. Sitting high in the tree, they had a resting place to stay cool. It was a perfect spot for a picnic. Annie headed for the house to make the lunch. She made Helen promise not to move an inch. Helen wouldn't think of moving. She loved sitting high up in that tree. Helen breathed in the wonderful scent of the cherry tree. She stroked its rough bark and its smooth green leaves, but let the cooling breeze blanket her. But in seconds, Helen's world turned upside down. The sun disappeared. Helen's face was slapped with a cold, sharp wind. The scent of flowers was gone. Her nose was filled with another smell. This one was not sweet. It came up from the deep, dark earth. It told Helen that a storm was near. Helen began to feel the shaking of the leaves. Twigs rained down, scratching her face, arms, and legs. The tree limbs swayed and the wind whipped through the branches. The wind whipped around Helen. The wind tried to rip Helen right out of that tree. Helen grabbed onto the shaking branch. She clung to it with all her might. Helen sat frozen. She was trapped. She could not see. She could not call for help. She could not hear if help was on the way. Helen had never felt so alone or so scared. She could not understand how gentle things she loved could turn against her. Suddenly, out of the cold whipping wind, Helen felt a hand. It was a strong, warm hand. It belonged to Annie Sullivan. Annie grabbed a hold of Helen. Helen let go of the branch. She clung to Annie. She let Annie guide her down out of that tree. Helen learned a great deal that day. She had felt the power of nature. It could turn from gentle to fierce in seconds. Helen also learned about the power of friendship. Annie Sullivan would always be there for Helen. Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan were friends all of their lives. Helen went on to become a talented writer who always worked to help others. All right, so now that we have finished our book, let's talk about it. Have any of you heard about Helen Keller before? Yes? What did you know about her?
Because see and hear and talk.
Do you know what the words are for that? What does it mean if you can't hear?
Can't hear.
Yeah, if you can't hear, what's the word for that? Deaf. Deaf. So if you can't hear, you're deaf. All right. What is it if you can't see? Begins with a B.
Peaceful.
Now, that one is blind. Blind means you can't see. Now, do you know what it means if you can't talk? It begins with an M. Did you say mandu? Like dumpling? So, it is mute. Like, you know how you mute a TV so you can still see the picture but you can't hear it? So you turn the volume off, right? You muted it. There's no sound. So if you can't speak, you're mute. If you can't see, you're blind. And if you can't hear, you are deaf. All right? So, what kind of person do you think Helen Keller would be now in today's setting? Because clearly this book took place a long time ago, right? So, what about if it happened now? Would Helen have the difficulties that she had? So, she still would be deaf, blind, and mute, but would she have been able to get help sooner than Annie Sullivan? You think so? Also, there are more things for people who are deaf and blind and mute. Can you name one thing that we see everywhere that is for blind people? What is for blind people? That is incorrect. So if they can't see and they have to try and walk, how are they going to walk? What's on the ground? The yellow, right? So the yellow dots are for blind people. Yep, some can have dogs, some use sticks to feel the dots on the ground and it tells them when to stop and when to go. Also, where you cross the street, the crosswalk, there's a button that you can push and it tells them when to go. Right? Good. Alright, so now for homework, you are going to fill out this page. It is called Using Your Senses. We have 5 senses. What are our 5 senses? Touch.
Hear.
Yep, the ability to hear.
See.
See.
Mouth.
What do you do with your mouth?
Talk.
You don't talk. You
Taste.
taste. Taste and
No.
what do you do? Smell. Good. All right. So we use some of our senses in almost everything we do. You want to look at the picture, right? And circle the sense or senses you think is used to learn about it, okay? So for example, they put apple. If you're going to learn about apple, how would you learn about it? Taste. You would bite it, right? What else could you do? You need your what? Your nose to smell, right? Because it could be good or bad. Touch. You want to see if it's a good apple. What about sight? You want to look at it, right? You want to see if it's ripe and ready to eat. And what else? Would you use hearing? No. Good. So you understand what the homework is?
Yes.
So I want you to read the first 8 pages of Helen Keller, study from pages 4 to 8 vocabulary, and to fill out page 63 in the workbook. Okay? All right. So that will be the end of our reading lesson today, and I hope everyone comes to class next time on time and shows up. Thanks.
Today a reader, tomorrow a leader. SSET Englishtown.